Welcome once again, friends. It's a beautiful topic, we have this morning on hope, the importance of hope. Also, of course, commonly understood and known as the beautiful word asha, that, my background, for example, was in medicine. And life is going just fine when somebody suddenly finds themselves in an emergency. Sometimes they are brought in an unconscious state, or some illness comes and then you're recovering, but there's always that hope of recovery. Or let's say it's a financial disaster that strikes you, or a calamity in nature, an accident that happens, or something happens, somebody passes away, and you were relying very much on them, and suddenly for a moment everything is shaken till we can, you might say, rebuild our life, our confidence, our faith. And you might ask that question, how is it happening, where is all of this coming from? And it actually stems from hope. Paramhansa Yogananda ji, our guru, he said a beautiful thing. He quoted Saint Paul, uh, of the first century, that also known as the 13th apostle. He quoted him in St. Paul. In his writings, he mentioned that the three cardinal virtues, that one should express in one's spiritual life are, he said, faith, charity, and hope. And Yogananda ji said, of these three, hope is the most important. And faith seems very important and is very important, but we'll see step by step. Master said, you see, if hope is gone, then everything is gone, at least temporarily. For example, Master said to a devotee once, this person said, sir, he was a monk. Now think how close you can be to an avatar and still lose hope. And here he was sitting with Yogananda ji in the same room. And he said to Master, he said, sir, I don't think I have very good karma in this life to find God. And some doubt, some confusion, must have come upon him, karma, And that's why we find hope, but again and again it is tested, it is shaken. And Master said to him very seriously, he said, remember this, it takes very, very, very good karma even to want to know God, which is to say, you have come so far. You want to know God, you have the tools and techniques. I don't know if Master said it to him, you have me, which is to say, you have attracted the Guru. All you need to do is now build on that hope. And how do we build on it? Let's say, sometimes people say, I wish, I hope this happens, or I wish that happens. Now, and that's called wishful thinking. Now, it's a good aspiration. You're hoping for a good thing. You're hoping for a better world. You're hoping things turn well. But does hope alone, especially a passive, just, weak, wishful thinking, would that do it? Not at all. Master said, hope has to be combined with effort. You have to nourish that hope. For example, go back to that time when perhaps you found autobiography of a yogi. Maybe it was last year, maybe like me, it was 18 years, 20 years ago or something. And I'll tell you a little bit about my own journey, because it's a very universal experience all of us have as hope. I was comparing our journeys a little bit to the sprouting of a seed. Then it turns into a little sapling, a plant, and a tree. But when something sprouts, and it's a very universal experience as school children, I think most of us have done that experiment. The teacher says, now go back home, ask your parents for a rajma seed or some seed, put it in the pot in the water, and then you see day by day, and you see it sprouts, and it brings so much joy. And you see the roots are going down, and this stem, and then 2 leaves, 4 leaves, they're all shooting up. Then each child brings their plant, you put it by the windowsill, and we see it grow. And perhaps you take it to the field and plant it there. And that's how we start. When a child comes, you see a little child. I've seen children also with, being a doctor, congenital illnesses. They come, they're following up, and some are very hard. But by and large, when the ego is not so developed, you don't personalize it. This is my problem. You are going through it, but there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of energy, there's this natural expression of a new beginning, a new life. I've come back into a new body. Or even if you're somebody who believes in one lifetime, let's say for now, that you say, hey, this is a great start, and you see that in the child, in their movements, in their crawling, in their standing and running and all of that. But as we grow sometimes, and especially as we interact with the larger world, that joyful exuberance of youth, as they say, can sometimes take a beating. Perhaps life experiences happen, disappointments come. Now, it's not a step back at all. You're actually expanding your energy. You're going beyond the geography that you knew. You're interacting with perhaps new people all the time. And you're basically exposing yourself to larger experiences. And that's a good thing. But when it is shaken a little bit, this little cynicism can come upon us. Was it worth it? Was this friendship worth it? Was it worth it that I did something? Where is this world heading? And this is not just in our times, it is pronounced, certainly, going by world leaders, what people who lived more decades than you and me. They say that these are really interesting times. But as Kriyananda ji would remind us, he said, this is a very ancient blessing in China, that they would say when a child is born or coming of age, that may you be born, may you live in interesting times. And this is a prayer for the soul. May you live in interesting times. Well, you and I are living in very interesting times, politically, religiously, education-wise, societally, migration-wise. There's a lot of climate. My goodness, there's so much change happening. And sometimes we can say, oh, those good old days were so good. But let's relook it. In my own little journey, I remember that I was right here in medical school in Pune, actually. This was the year 2003. And one day I used to often take this route, and I saw this sign of an orphanage. And I thought, how wonderful. And just instantly this thought came to me that, I'm so blessed. I have parents, I have friends, family, I'm studying. And I said, I wonder what life is like in an orphanage. And I then that week paid a visit over there. And it was a boys only orphanage. I met with all the boys over there. I met with the main warden there. We had a wonderful connection. I had taken some candies for them. Then I thought, what can I, as a student, I didn't have much money myself. And I thought, what can I give them which is more lasting? And I realized very quickly, it's my presence, it's my friendship, my playing with them, telling them stories and things. But then in terms of a more tangible gift, because I couldn't be there all the time, I realized they loved books. And that's something I could buy. So I would each time take them some books, and I set up a little library. And those who know me, you'll know it's a little samskar, I think, in me. Right here in this building, I have a library of 3,000 books. And I was asking them for feedback, especially the warden, and he said, "Oh no, kids are loving the books. It's good for their mind and their morals, and it's good." So I brought more. I researched more. Then I thought this is a wonderful idea, and I reached out to very far-fetched, remote villages in India, where schooling, education is hard. And I would find some sincere teacher, and then I would call them, talk to them, and I would ask them if they would enjoy receiving 100 books or something. They would say, oh yes, absolutely. So then I started shipping these boxes to remote parts of, Orissa, Bihar, Jharkhand, and such, and the Himalayas, some places over there, Assam. And I would feel so happy that suddenly, if you think, oh, some parents abandoned their child, or this child doesn't have parents. But when I looked at those children, they were full of beings. They were very happy with each other's company. So you see, behind the form can sometimes, or its initial impression can be, there is no hope for these children. There is no hope for world. What is happening to our world? But if you get involved, first of all, you are blessed, because you don't realize it. I didn't realize it, that I was hopeful about this situation. But as I looked at the problem, and as I thought of the solution, and as Master said, hope combined with work, something, action, then he said it develops an experience. And he says that experience is the foundation of faith. We say, have faith in God. And Kriyananda ji used to say, faith is different from belief. You can believe something, but if it's not your experience, I can believe somebody is my very good friend, but I cannot have faith unless it is tested and proven. And so it is that action is important. Then I remember when I went to, Delhi for my internship, Delhi's air I was reading the newspaper. I had more time now. I was out of medical school, and my goodness, I looked at the political scene worldwide. I would think about global warming. I was really following up on it, not excessively worried, but concerned. And I said, what's happening? The world, on one level, schools and colleges and online education is increasing, but people are behaving in such a way as if they can plunder this planet and who cares, and as if the scientists, no one's paying attention to the global, let's say the glaciers are. Just give me a moment here, Alona ji. Sorry, all good technically? Okay, okay. I was seeing the phone movement there. So then what happened that after that I started paying attention on I said, what can I do? What can I, a little person, do about global warming? Well, I found some seed banks. I started supporting them, plantation drives here and there. I would fund it a little bit. And then I found this wonderful organization, global organization, that was working in a very all-rounded way for the world environmental causes. And I said, yeah, I can support them. And you feel good. When I did that, I said, okay, I'm doing my little bit in this. And so anyway, I'll share one or two more stories, but this is leading up to the autobiography of a yogi. And then I remember participating in a rally. All doctors were protesting against, it was reservation. And I was in a unique situation. In the state where I was born, Rajasthan, I found myself, based on the caste I was born in, to be an other backward caste, OBC, which means I qualified for a quota. But I said, I don't need a quota. I come from a decent family. I had a stationary education, good access to education and such. I shouldn't, a person like me doesn't deserve quota. It should be given to somebody who is needy. So I was protesting against this in Delhi. And I told a reporter who was standing there, he asked me, why are you protesting? And I told him this. He said, really, you are getting the quota, but you don't want it? I said, yes. He immediately put me on the camera, and little did I know that was the live telecast of Star TV. Later, friends and family told me they saw me on TV. But then, when after that interview, because we had reached the final destination in Delhi where these protests were happening, I saw such frankly emotional madness. People were shouting, dancing, protesting so angrily. This intuitive thought came, and now you'll see it makes common sense. I said, my goodness, the beginning was all okay, but any one of these people could make the same mistake against which they're protesting. And that is a scientific and a spiritual law, that if your emotions are disturbed, your reasoning is flawed, you're going to make a wrong decision. So I said, even if you have to protest, if you have to tell somebody something is not right, do it calmly, do it peacefully, do it through dialogue. And that was the only rally of protest I participated in my life. I really realized it was a waste of time. Like Kriyananda ji said, they go up, they go down. People shout, and next morning it's as if nothing happened. He said, real change starts from an individual. And then I remember one day I was sitting in my room and house, and I said, my goodness, all these thoughts were coming again to me. And I said, thinking will not help me. I should go and find an autobiography of somebody who has had such thoughts and who has found the solution. It's like, it's all about the solution. So I went to my favorite bookstore and I said, okay, I went in the autobiography section. And I said, no, it's not about sports. It's not about politics only, this. And suddenly I saw autobiography of a yogi. And till then, I didn't know I was looking for yogic teachings or even God or spiritual teachings. Those thoughts had crossed my mind. As a doctor, you see death, you see suffering. And I was like, what happens when people die? But nobody had a good answer for that question when I asked a few people. But I found that book. And as many of you, perhaps all of you who've read the book can relate with me, I looked at the cover, I looked at Master's eyes. The title was hopeful. His eyes were hopeful. I, bought the book, read it in a few days, and I had never imagined, and I still have not found one book which can answer so many questions. Master had a system of education that really worked. He spoke about death as not being the finality, and he spoke about reincarnation as a new beginning. He spoke about illnesses, which was very interesting for me as a doctor. He said illnesses and disease comes because of wrong habits. Yes, not only eating, overeating, and lack of exercise and all. He said because of wrong thinking, harmful emotions, wrong actions. And I said, my goodness, how can one person know so much? This is how we should live. We must all become yogis. And again, in people's mind, in religion, in spirituality, they have this perception, oh, go off in the Himalayas and start fasting and leave this, leave that. Yes, there is some value to those practices, but really, who is a yogi? You're trying to unite yourself with everything. Kriyananda ji said when he found Autobiography of a Yogi and read it, he said, here I was looking for a little bit peace of mind. And he said, I realized not only peace of mind, like Master said, peace. Somebody asked him, do your teachings bring peace? And Master said, that is the least they offer. He said, ultimately, my teachings help people be at peace with the Creator Himself. That with who am I? Where have I come from? How should I live my life? What is happening to our planet? How should other people live? What happens when we die? Is there a creator? If he, she, if there is a God, does he have a plan? Do we know that plan? How should we lead our lives? Does he know me? So many beautiful questions, Master, so expansively yet personally put it in his book, Autobiography of a Yogi. So then that brings me to the subject. How then can you and I, first of all, protect that flame of hope? Fortunately, I heard a beautiful lecture by Jayaji, and I encourage you to watch it also. I'm borrowing a lot of theme and ideas from his lecture a few months ago. It's called, I believe, Hope on the Spiritual Path, or something like that. It was a few months ago at Ananda Village. And he was sharing that think of hope, as a lantern. Here we are, not right now, but somewhat, yes. But you're in darkness, let's say. You're in a world of darkness, or you're simply in a room of darkness. And you don't see the direction. There's no hope. What do? You light a lantern, you light a candle, you turn on your mobile phone and the flashlight, and suddenly you have that light. Now, then what do we have to do? We have to keep that light intact and find ways to enhance it. Maybe another person has another flashlight. Then a lot of you have enough light. Or you say, why don't we rewire this building and add more light? And when a devotee once prayed to Mahavatar Babaji, that why don't you take the darkness of this world away? Look at all these problems. You know what he said to her? He came in her dream and he said, where there is light, there has to be darkness, which is to say, in this world of duality, both have to be there. He said, I cannot take the darkness away, but I can help you increase the light, because that is my job. That the avatars, the masters, they come to show us that we can be that instrument for enhancing that light. So how do we then build hope? Let's say I have picked a few books over here. On an education level, Kriyananda ji used to say, why are so many children unhappy? Why don't they have friends? Why don't they know how to get along with others? Why even after grand success in a career, they still feel lonely, or unfortunately sometimes commit suicide? He wrote this beautiful book called Education for Life. And Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam had absolutely loved this approach, that how can a teacher, you have 12 years with a child in school, how can you work with their feelings, their behavior, their actions? Subjects can continue, that's fine. But the child as a complete human being, physically, emotionally, mentally, putting out their will and intellect and helping other people, developing not one or two, but 50 positive qualities. There is so much potential. And Kriyanandaji started an entire system of schooling focusing on that. This amazing book of leadership, Art of Supportive Leadership. As your work, let's say you are one person who started some work. Think of Paramhansa Yogananda ji, Swami Kriyananda ji. Well, as the work, if the work is a good one, you must expand it. If you have a nice product, you must expand it and make it available to more people. What do you do in that process? You build a team. But team building is not so easy. For one, people can be are a cause of great stress if we don't know how to handle them, how to select them, how to train them. Priyanandaji writes here how to be a good leader, how to select your team, how to inspire them. Why are we all here in the first place? So many beautiful things which, in the detail of day to day teamwork, can simply be lost. Finally, a few days ago, we had a marriage over here. Our dear friend Avinash and Oksana, they had a little informal marriage ceremony. But I want to just read how Swami Kriyananda ji wrote the vow of marriage. There are vows that the couple take to God. There's the ring ceremony and all, but I'll just say the vows they say to each other, because what is marriage really? It's friendship, it's divine friendship, it is a commitment to one another, it is especially a spiritual bond that must be perfected in God, that must lead one another into the light of God and then share and expand that light. So just see how much hope giving this vow is. This is the vow for the couple to each other. They repeat to one another, dear beloved. Yeah, I can read this. It's not long enough. I will be true to you as I pray always to be true to God. I will love you without condition as I would be loved by you and as we are ever loved by God. I will never compete with you. I will cooperate for our own and for all others' highest good. I will forgive you always and under all circumstances. I will respect your right to see the truth as you perceive it and to be guided as you feel deeply within yourself. And I will work with you always in freedom to arrive at a common understanding. All that we do, may we do for God's glory. May we live and grow together in His love and joy. And may the offspring of our union, whether human children or creative deeds, be doorways for the inspiration that we feel from Him through each other. May our love grow ever deeper, purer, more expansive, until in our perfected love, we find the perfect love of God. Who is in your spouse? God. Who is in our customer? It is God. So what I found in Ananda, what is really hope giving, the treasure that you have also struck, all of us have struck, is that, Master is showing us this, instead of that pessimism, this world is not a good place, there is no goodness over there. Wherever you see a problem, in some small way, be a part of it. I haven't kept a track at all of all those things I did long ago. But I know one thing, all those things have helped me. And that light has increased, I believe, in me, that joy has increased. One thing led to the other. And instead, if I would have given up hope, many people, they start criticizing the world. People, they take their own lives. They unfortunately go on a rampage, killing others. They are angry about things. What good does it do? Where is it's also the approach of nihilism is what it is. So you are so cynical about everything. You're not happy and you've become a part of the problem. This is a world of duality. Hold on to that light, hold on to that hope. Jayaji made a very beautiful point. He said, the good thing about hope is not that you have to create it, it is embedded. That's why he said the plants move up, people respond to love, animals go where there is food. Everybody is looking for that happiness, that joy, that expansion in their awareness, because there is this deep seated seed of hope that I can find God, I can become one with everything, I must be able to love more, forgive more. And he said, water that seed. You don't have to create hope, but you need to nourish it. You have to awaken it and awaken it in others. Somebody comes, let's say, with a hopeful idea, they do something, and even if they don't do it well, if we can encourage them, if we can bless them in that effort, you will see that intention, that hope that you're awakening in their potential is something that goes a very long way to bringing them joy and fulfillment in life. Master bless you. Let's take a minute to meditate on this beautiful gift he has brought in our lives through the techniques of meditation, through their presence, through their teachings, through all the innumerable books and music Swamiji gave. He gave us so much hope. Let's take a minute to meditate and imagine them sitting in front of you, smiling and blessing you. And now let's close with a healing prayer for the world. Let's see our planet surrounded by the light of God. Let us especially see truth seekers everywhere, joyfully reaching out, channeling that light of God. Let us see centers of Ananda, meditation groups, communities, Guru Bhais, online communities everywhere, in all countries. Let us see our more than 100 centers beautifully keeping that divine hope, promise of God alive, enhancing that, people deepening their faith, and sharing that light with everyone in all areas of life. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all thy children. Manifest thy healing presence in all bodies, all minds, and all souls. Let's rub our hands together, send these blessings out into the world. Om Shanti.